Stand by in 5, 4,
3, 2.
coming up next.
Everyone is using social media, and as we become more concerned about our privacy,
Major Leaguer Randy Johnson.
People ages 18 to 29 haven't voted.
What's even more fascinating is that over the years,
this is Arizona Cat's Eye.
Hello, and welcome to Arizona Cat's Eye, a news magazine produced by students at the University of Arizona. I'm Alexis Whitaker.
and I'm Lauren Walker.
University of Arizona police reporting a rise in property crimes on and around campus. And there are some things you can do to protect yourself and your property. On the first night in Brenna McIntyre's new apartment, a burglar walked up to her car, shattered a window, and stole a bag.
I looked over and I was like, well, why is there glass on the ground? And then I looked up and I was like, oh no, my window got broken in, or my car got broken into.
A common crime, police say 8 incidents of larceny and burglary in 72 hours. Larceny is the theft of personal property, and burglary is forced access and theft of personal property.
She put it under the seat a bit, but you could easily, at an angle, see what was under there.
UAPD officers see this crime often because criminals often take what they can see.
A lot of the larcenies that we encounter here are mainly crimes of opportunity.
Officer Moreno says from January 1st to October 21st, there were 425 larceny-related crimes at the U of A. Here's how you can make sure your car isn't a red flag. Criminals are looking for anything of value. Specialists recommend always parking in open light, and make sure that you're closing and locking all of your doors.
Most thieves are going to walk up to your car and they're going to look into your window to see if they see anything good. If they see a backpack like I do right now, it's a matter of grabbing a rock, smashing it, grabbing it, and go. The Specialist is a car security company that started in Tucson 42 years ago. Alex Drachman recommends people add security technology to their cars to stop criminals from breaking in. At the very least, get a flashing light in your car just to trick the thief into thinking that you do have an alarm in your car. If you're someone that wants the real deal, Alex says an alarm system will allow you to have more control over your vehicle. Alarm systems range from $100 to $300, and the latest technology keeps the owner up to date at all times. Use your phone to unlock your car, set your alarm with your phone, or even get notices from your phone. If your car does get broken into, you get a text message telling you that somebody's messing with your car. UAPD is doing its part by having officers patrol lots, but they believe it takes a community to decrease these types of crimes. Car owners need to take responsibility for their belongings. Police recommend documenting the serial numbers on devices. This will help officers identify items if they're found.
It seems nearly everyone is using social media, and as we become more concerned about our privacy, hacking into accounts is also becoming more common. Statistics show that 80% of the U.S. population uses social media and is vulnerable to hackers. The FBI says hacking is gaining unauthorized access and control over a network, which is a cybercrime. Penalties can range from a misdemeanor to a felony. To avoid getting hacked, experts recommend updating your privacy settings and having a strong password. Coming up next on Arizona Cat's Eye, the race to the finish line. Arizona declares its first woman senator, and how one child lives with a disease no one can cure. Stay with us.
Today by far has been my favorite experience in Cat's Eye. In the future, I hope that, I continue to get opportunities like this and we all continue in this field, and just in a couple years we see ourselves mastering the skills that Lorraine Rogelio instills in us.
Well, Cat's Eye has really taught me, for one, how to speak in front of the camera, let alone it's a lot of teamwork. You work together and you do almost every role, just from being a multimedia journalist. So it's been an amazing experience where I've really grown as a person and as a reporter.
For Arizona Cat's Eye.
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 For Arizona Cat's Eye. Welcome back. Democrat Kyrsten Sinema won the Senate race following days of ballot counting. In the end, she became Arizona's first female senator. It's been 2 decades since a Democrat was elected to represent Arizona in the U.S. Senate.
Politicos were hoping this year's midterm election would bring out the younger voter, and it did to some extent. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Sierra Burke is here with more.
Since 1986, young people ages 18 to 29 haven't voted at more than 21%. This year may break that pattern. More than 3,000 students, teachers, and parents gathered last spring for Tucson March for Our Lives. It's believed controversial issues like gun laws are driving millennials to the polls. Early data from a Harvard poll, 40% of people ages 18 to 29 said they will vote in this year's midterm elections. If the predictions are correct, the youth participation rate will be 50% higher than 4 years ago.
I think that there's a big move for young people to get involved when the issues become so related and are literally about their safety.
The Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement says 30% of voters ages 18 to 29 cast ballots in the 2018 midterm elections. This is at least 10% higher than the 2014 midterms. Back to you.
Most of us have experienced or know someone who suffers from painful headaches. Across the state, health experts say 1.4 million people have been treated for migraines, a headache that can cause severe pain, throbbing, and sensitivity to light. Experts say migraines are not becoming more common, but rather accepted as a medical diagnosis. A chronic migraine is when you have more than 15 migraines per month. Doctors say migraine triggers can include anything from diet, stress, exercise, dehydration, to family history.
If my migraine is so severe to the point where I can't get up, I have to sit in a pitch black room. I need to have a cold compress on my head. I take 6 Advil.
Though doctors say there's no real way to prevent migraines, hydration, sleep, and eating well can improve overall health.
Every year, 200,000 children in the U.S. are diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Morgan Buttafuoco introduces us to one boy who hopes his raising money will help find a cure.
AJ looks like any other 10-year-old, and he is, but this 5th grader has type 1 diabetes, a condition he's had for 8 years.
When I was 2.5 years old, we were at, pretty sure it was Legoland or SeaWorld, and every time we were going to a new attraction, I would wet my pants, and I would ask for water a bunch, and my mom thought something was up.
His mother did what every worried mother would do. She started Googling symptoms and talking to family friends.
She continued to search it up, and all she saw that it was coming up was type 1 diabetes, type 1 diabetes.
Otherwise known as juvenile diabetes, a chronic autoimmune condition where the pancreas is unable to produce insulin, the hormone that regulates blood sugar. A life-changing diagnosis for this Oro Valley family. And now AJ wears an insulin pump and a glucose monitor. His dad, Dan, is on the board for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation for Arizona, and he says AJ stays on top of his health.
He is constantly connected via a port typically on his arm that constantly drips insulin into him.
It's not easy, but it's manageable.
Learn to fit it into my schedule, kind of just something that I have to do.
He is still a kid who just needs some extra care.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of his life. There isn't almost a time where you don't think about it.
It's estimated 41,000 kids in Arizona are diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, prompting schools like this one to expand their health services so students are always cared for.
The school nurse at Flowing Wells High School, Penny Gomez, says she has kids in her office just like AJ who take the daily steps he takes.
I sometimes play the mother in terms of, so what's your A1C? 13, when's your appointment with your endocrinologist? Yeah, you're going to get yelled at. So sometimes I'm the broad face of, you've got to get your diabetes under control.
And it's that kind of acceptance that supports kids like AJ. He hopes one day that awareness translates into dollars to find that cure to make type 1, type none. Reporting for Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Morgan Buttafuoco.
The JDRF Fund's innovative research includes upgrades to the artificial pancreas and treatment therapies to reduce type 1 diabetes-related risks. To date, the company has invested more than $110 million in hopes of finding a cure.
Coming up next, a new museum opens in Tucson, and later, a blast from the past with Hall of Famer Randy Johnson.
That and more when Arizona Cat's Eye returns.
Cat's Eye reporters are going places.
So after graduation, my goal is to hopefully land a job at maybe one of the news networks locally.
Post-grad, I want to go work for a large network in sports broadcasting, like ESPN or Fox. But I plan on moving to LA and pursuing a career in broadcast journalism, specifically into the entertainment side of it.
These MMJs are working extremely hard on their reels to send them off to the job of their dreams very soon. Welcome back to Arizona Cat's Eye. Signs tell us where to go, when to stop, and what not to do, and some have bright lights. Reporter Sierra Burke has a story on how signs represent history.
The Miracle Mile Historic District was once the gateway in and out of Tucson. In the 1950s, it was lined with bustling hotels, restaurants, and neon signs that greeted travelers like Jude Cook and his wife, Monica. The couple moved to Tucson in 1983.
The first night we stayed in a hotel over there, Wayward Winds, so yeah, we were very interested in those. They were all kind of lit up.
The neon signs now remind Jude and Monica of an era of fast cars and a slower pace of life.
It's just, a beautiful period.
Jude Cook created and restored signs for nearly 45 years. Then one day, the Tucson Preservation Foundation asked Jude to restore an old neon sign.
I had to do something with it to give it a home, and that's part of what led to what we're doing today.
The couple just opened Tucson's new Ignite Sign Museum, a collection of Tucson's most iconic signs from the past. Jude has completed 23 sign restorations.
I do it because it's cool, and it's just, there's nothing like it, and so I do it because I care about it.
According to the Tucson Historic Preservation Foundation, the mission to restore the old signs creates more jobs, but the ability to actually fix the neon is rare. Mitch Bond has worked with Jude in the sign business since 1987.
It's, a whole new world now, and there's not a whole lot of old school guys that even know how to troubleshoot it. If the neon sign isn't working, or how do you fix it?
There are a few neon repair shops located in Tucson. The cost to repair neon signs can range from $5,000 to $40,000.
I thanked him and told him, I said, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in Tucson.
This museum giving old signs new life while shedding light on history. For Arizona Cat's Eye, I'm Sierra Burke.
The museum is open to the public and costs $11 for general admission.
On to some other news now, and we're going outside the state for this story. The West Coast is preparing to welcome the world's most expensive sports arena, Los Angeles Stadium. The $5 billion development is breaking ground in Inglewood, California, a city now undergoing many changes. The highly anticipated LA Stadium is halfway complete. Property value in the area has increased since construction began in 2016. According to U.S. 2017 sales data, people who sold their homes in Inglewood did so for a price that was on average 80% higher than what they paid. Inglewood is home to the University of Arizona star quarterback Khalil Tate, who's worried about the future of his hometown.
A lot of people are going to get moved out. A lot of new people are going to move in. So I think it's something that, is definitely going to be a different demographic.
The project is expected to deliver $25 million in annual tax revenue to Inglewood, a city that almost filed for bankruptcy in 1992.
Next on Arizona Cat's Eye, we see how Randy Johnson pitches fatherhood.
From Cat's Eye Class of 2019 to you.
Welcome back. A unique opportunity now, really a once-in-a-lifetime chance to meet one of America's Hall of Famers. Baseball superstar Randy Johnson sat down with our very own Jazz Ramos. She's here now with a sneak peek into the life of a retired major leaguer.
After 21 years on the baseball mound, Major Leaguer Randy Johnson is enjoying his retirement and says his talents are taking him in a few different directions.
And a 2-2 to Perez. Yeah! Swing and a miss, and Randy Johnson, at 40 years young, has thrown a perfect game.
That was then 40-year-old Randy Johnson becoming the oldest pitcher in Major League Baseball history to throw a perfect game. Baseball fans know Johnson as the Big Unit, 6 feet 10 inches tall, a World Series champion, and now a Major League Baseball Hall of Famer.
Baseball really was a huge part of my life from the time I was 7 years old until I retired at age 46, which is kind of unheard of.
Johnson played 22 seasons in the major leagues for 6 teams that included the Seattle Mariners and the Arizona Diamondbacks. His pitches made him famous, but it's hitting a dove mid-air that fans seem to remember most. A once-in-a-lifetime moment became his signature logo as a photographer. Shooting pictures is something he perfected while playing for USC.
Photography is something that you're never too old to do. I was at baseball, but now I've kind of moved on to a passion that I had early on.
And though he's no longer on the mound, Johnson's daughter Samantha is proud to see her dad continue with his photography.
He's really inspired me to follow my dreams, and just seeing him be so successful in the field that he was in really kind of pushes me to do the same thing in the field that I'm going into.
Exploring an old passion and cherishing his kids is what keeps this Hall of Famer grounded.
Being here now to support them for those things that, you know, could be life-changing for them, I'm very thankful.
Two of his kids play collegiate sports. Willow plays volleyball at the University of Oregon and cherishes the moments when it's not all about sports.
Besides him obviously being my dad, he's also like one of my best friends. Like, we can joke around with each other and make jokes, and he comes up here to visit me sometimes and watch my games.
Off the field, beyond the fame, he's an ordinary guy.
I mean, to me, like, it's not a big deal because, like, I've never known him to be famous or, like, a celebrity. Like, he's just, like, my dad.
Success in baseball, creativity in photography, pride in raising a family, it's all part of Randy Johnson's legacy.
Johnson just returned home from a USO tour, visiting U.S. military in Japan. To see some of his photos from the trip, visit his Instagram at RJ51Photos.
Continuing our sports coverage now, and the story of one of the University of Arizona's top volleyball players. 6-foot outside hitter UA volleyball player Kendra Dalkey has become one of 17 women with more than 1,000 kills. This makes her one of the best volleyball players in the U of A's history. Dalkey is also a leading national volleyball player. The 21-year-old credits her success to her teammates and coaches.
From like 12 years old, my coach, Galen Tomlinson, he worked with me specifically on just like the whole sport of volleyball, working on everything as little as like passing, even setting. It's just like being an all-around volleyball player, so I think that has helped me a lot.
Dalkey is also trying to become the 4th Wildcat in UA history to average over 5 kills per set.
From one athlete's career peak to the end of an era, we shift our coverage now to longtime coach at the U of A. Arizona Cat's Eye reporter Morgan Buttafuoco is here with more on the dynasty of Shirley Bertolini.
It's rare for a coach to lead for 64 years. What's even more fascinating is that over the years, U of A twirling coach Shirley Bertolini has trained more than 300 students in her 64-year history. Shirley Bertolini is 82 years old and for decades has continued to inspire members of the Pride of Arizona marching band with her knowledge, talent, and love for the sport. In 1950, Bertolini was the first twirler for the university, and after graduating, continued to coach aspiring entertainers. The coach says she's happy to have had the chance to serve the university.
I hope it'll continue to be as athletic as it is now. We'll continue getting her degree, and that's all I'm hoping for, just to help these girls.
Filling Shirley's shoes won't be easy. The U of A says it processed more than 30 applications for the open twirling position, and this fall, the university promoted assistant coach Kirsten Grabo to take over as the head twirling coach. Back to you.
Thanks, Morgan.
And that concludes this edition of Arizona Cat's Eye, a student-run television broadcast show at the University of Arizona School of Journalism.
Thanks for watching.